So hello friends, today I am going to discuss about nutrient cycling. So what is this? Actually, nutrient cycling, which is also known as your biogeochemical cycles, it refers to the movement of various components of an ecosystem. The components like your nitrogen, phosphorus, carbon, etc. Then there is a term that is standing state. We should know about it. So what is this? So amount of nutrients in the soil like carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, etc. at any given time is called your standing state. It varies with the kind of ecosystem and season like bio-living, georocks, air, water, etc. Now what is this importance of nutrients? In order to grow, reproduce and to regulate various body functions, organisms need nutrients like your carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, etc. So nutrient cyclings are of two types basically. There is gaseous cycle and your sedimentary cycle. So gaseous cycle again comes under gaseous cycle comes your carbon cycle and nitrogen cycle, whereas in sedimentary cycle it comes your sulfur cycle and a phosphorus cycle. So let's discuss about this carbon cycle. So what is this gaseous cycle? This is the cycle in which that particular element is present even in the gaseous form in the atmosphere. So they are called as gas within this gaseous cycle. So this carbon dioxide is present in the atmosphere also. That's why it is comes under gaseous cycle. Now carbon cycling occurs to atmosphere. It also occurs to living and dead organisms. It is only to next to the water. It constitutes about 49% of the dry weight of an organism. And 71% carbon found dissolved in ocean that regulates the amount of your carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The fossil fuel is also the reservoir of your carbon. And approximately about 4 into 10 to the power 13 kg of carbon is fixed into biosphere through your photosynthesis annually. So photosynthesis is one of the most common pathways for carbon fixation. We can understand that. Then decomposers. As decomposers work hard on dead organic matter of land or oceans and also waste materials, they too contribute to your carbon dioxide pool. And what are the other sources of carbon dioxide? The other sources are like respiratory activities, which is returned to the atmosphere, then burning of wood, then forest fire, burning of fossil fuels and transportation, deforestation, volcanic activity, then combustion of organic matter. So here in the figure I have shown how this atmospheric carbon dioxide comes and where this all are deposited. So you can see here in the figure number 1 point is assimilation by plants and animals. So we get carbon dioxide, atmospheric carbon dioxide by plants and animals. Number 2 is by animal respiration. So many animals are there, cattle are there, so through their respiration. Then assimilation into the soil, some of the carbon dioxide, which is atmospheric carbon dioxide, they come back to the soil. So this is assimilation into soil. Then assimilation by phytoplankton, that is some of the atmospheric carbon dioxide, they come and get assimilated by phytoplankton, which is present in the sea. And again number 5, you can see here, that is your plant respiration. To plant respiration, as I have mentioned already this point, that by the process of photosynthesis we get lots of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And others are that some of this, when these plants and animals they die, then this organic decomposition, this of this animal waste, dead animals and plants, they also leads to formation of fossil fuels. And these fossil fuels like have some peat, coal, oil. So these fossil fuels, when they are used by human beings, then this leads to atmospheric carbon dioxide, like combustion of your fossil fuel. And moreover, also from the volcanic eruptions we get lots of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And of course we can see here in the figure I have shown below number 4, you can see marine deposits of calcium carbonate. So some of these calciums which is fixed by phytoplankton, they are again deposited in the form of calcium carbonate into the sea. So how this is the cycle of carbon dioxide. Then next gaseous cycle is your nitrogen cycle. Why is nitrogen cycle and why it is what is nitrogen cycle and why it is so important? Because it has an important role to play in amino acid. If you see the structure of amino acid, you will find that there proteins and even on DNA they contains this nitrogen has important role to play. It is also needed to make chlorophyll in plants. So this chlorophyll is used to make their food by the process of photosynthesis. Again, nitrogen is transformed from one chemical form to another during this life process. In general, the nitrogen cycle has basically 5 stages. There is nitrogen fixation, nitrification, assimilation, ammonification, and denitrification. So nitrogen fixation means atmospheric nitrogen to NH3, NH4, ammonium or nitrate. Then NH3 to NO3. Then assimilation, that incorporation of NH3 to NO3 into biological tissues. Ammonification is organic nitrogen compound to NH3. Then denitrification means again these nitrates are converted to atmospheric nitrogen through the process of in the absence of oxygen, through the process of your denitrifying bacteria. So here in the figure you can see here, first on the top you will see the nitrogen in the atmosphere is there. It gets fixed by your nitrogen fixing bacteria. On the left hand side you can see that legume plant has been sown and where this nitrogen fixing bacteria are present, which is converted to NH3, and through then the process of the nitrification occurs and it takes place by the help of nitrifying bacteria. This NH3 is then converted to NO3. Again, you can see here decomposers means when decomposing ammonification steps. In the ammonification phase, dead animals or plants, they are decomposed and get converted into NH4, and this to the nitrites and then to nitrates. And then this nitrates through the process of assimilation, this absorption of nitrogen in the plants also take place. Then another is denitrifying bacteria. When they act on the nitrate, this process is called denitrification, and it happens in the absence of oxygen, in the presence of waterlogged conditions. And then this nitrate is again converted to molecular nitrogen which again goes into the atmosphere. Some of the nitrogen fixation also occurs through the process of lightning and UV rays, which is known as abiotic nitrogen fixation. Next, sedimentary cycle. So what is the sedimentary cycle and what comes under it? So the sulfur cycle and phosphorus cycles comes under sedimentary cycle. So in sedimentary cycle, no atmospheric availability of your phosphorus and sulfurs will be there. So the phosphorus cycle is a process by which phosphorus moves through the lithosphere, hydrosphere and biosphere. So what are the steps in the phosphorus cycle? Through rocks, water, soil and sediments and organisms, phosphorus moves in the cycle. Gradually, rain and weathering process causes rocks to release the phosphate ions and other minerals. And this inorganic phosphate is then released and get absorbed by the soils and water. And then plants take up this inorganic phosphate from the soil. So in this way, phosphorus is available. So why phosphorus is considered a sedimentary cycle? Because unlike carbon, oxygen and nitrogen, the atmosphere is not a reservoir of phosphorus. Nor do microorganisms fix phosphorus as do nitrogen. So phosphorus enters the biosphere almost entirely from the soil through the absorption by your plant roots. And animals, when they eat these plants, they get phosphorus. So why is phosphorus biologically important? Because it is component in ATP and coenzyme NADP, so which are used in important cellular process including your photosynthesis. It can also be found in your sugar phosphate backbone of nucleic acid, and it is the element of phospholipids making of the cell membrane. So if you see the cell membrane, you will come to know about that yes, this phosphorus has a role to play in it. And if you recall the structure of nucleic acid, the phosphate bond is there. Then how phosphorus cycle is different from other? Phosphorus cannot be found in air and in the gaseous state, so it is only present in a very small dust particle. This is because phosphorus is usually liquid at normal temperature and pressure. So it is mainly cycling through water, soil and sediments. So it is mainly liquid at normal temperature and pressures. Therefore, it is mainly cycling through water, soil and sediments. So here in the picture you can see that through rock, which is natural reservoir of phosphorus, what happens through the process of weathering and so on, it reaches to the soil, and then it is and water, and then intake by plants is converted to organic phosphorus, and by grazing of plants by animals and predation by animals, it is converted to organic phosphorus. And with these plants and these animals, when they die or through their excretion, the phosphorus which is released, they get decomposed by your some phosphate solubilizing bacteria. So this organic phosphate is converted to inorganic phosphate. So by bacterial action, they were releasing your phosphorus. So in this way, the cycle is maintained for a phosphorus cycle. Then sulfur cycle is also sedimentary cycle. So sulfur is present in all living matter as a component of certain amino acid. It is abundant in soil and proteins through a series of microbial transformation, which ends up at sulfates, which is used by plants. Sedimentary rocks are the major sulfur producing source from which hydrogen sulfide gas is released. And other human sources are like smelters and fossil fuel combustion. So both of which release sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. So here is the figure showing what a sulfur cycle. So coming from the left side, you can see it's melting and burning of fossil fuel is there, and it releases sulfur dioxide. Hydrogen sulfide is released from your volcano effect, and all the sulfurs are present in the atmosphere. And this sulfurs which are present in the atmosphere, they go for dry deposition. So then these sulfurs are found in the soil. And by wet deposition, that is by your acid rain and snow falling, they comes into the water. And through the plant uptake, when plant uptake this from the soil, they also from organic deposition it comes into the water. Then deposition of sulfides in the sediments occur. Some of decomposition of living trees and waste products, they get runoff and they again get mixed with water, and then sulfur is present in water, which finally deposition of sulfides in sediments occur. So some of these iron sulfides in sediments or fossil fuels, they are again or ores, they are used by human for smelting and burning of fossil fuel, and again the cycles go on repeating times and again. So conclusion is that why a nutrient cycle is required. A nutrient cycle is a repeated pathway of a particular nutrient or element from the environment through one or more organism, and it is back to the environment. So it is like that nutrient cycles link living organism with living organism with non-living organism, and non-living organism with non-living organism. So this is essential. Why? Because all living organisms depend on one another and is vital for the survival of the living organism. These nutrients are required in our life. It is necessary. That's why this nutrient cycle is a must. So there are lots to learn. Keep learning. Thank you for watching my video. If you really like my video, please subscribe my channel. Thank you.